This is Gentle Confessions, where even the softest regrets find their voice. Tier 1. The first time she chose me. It was the kind of cold that made your bones forget what warmth felt like. Toronto, winter of 2009. I was 19, a broke university student, walking home after my evening class with a backpack full of borrowed books and a head full of caffeine and quiet panic. I remember the way the snow fell that night, not in a storm, but in soft, drifting veils. The kind of snow that doesn't rush to the ground. It dances. It lingers. It almost seems curious. And then, just as I turned the corner to my street, I heard it. A sound that didn't belong to the silence. A meow. Not loud. Not desperate. Just there. I stopped. Turned. Waited. And then, from behind a green recycling bin partially buried in snow, she appeared. Tiny. Orange. Eyes wide. No collar. No hesitation. She walked straight toward me. I remember kneeling down, holding out my gloved hand, and bracing for the usual hiss or flinch that stray cats often give. But she didn't flinch. She rubbed her face against my fingers, purring like I was something familiar. And in that moment, in that quiet, snowy corner of the city, I felt chosen. It's strange how animals do that. They don't ask for your resume. They don't care what you failed at that day. They just see you. And sometimes they stay. I didn't plan to take her home. I lived in a cramped basement apartment with a roommate who was allergic to everything, and a landlord who checked on us more often than he needed to. But I couldn't leave her. Not in that cold. Not when she had trusted me first. So I zipped open my backpack, gently nestled her inside, and walked the last 4 blocks with a heartbeat that suddenly wasn't mine alone. She was quiet the whole way, like she knew this wasn't the end of something, but the beginning. I named her Clementine that night after the song I had playing in my earbuds when I found her. Clementine, by Sarah Harmer. Soft, Canadian, familiar, just like her. She changed everything. My mornings started earlier because of her. My nights ended with her curled beside me like a question mark made of warmth. She was small, but she took up space, the kind of space you don't know is missing until it's filled. My roommate wasn't thrilled, but when she saw how quiet and gentle Clementine was, how she never scratched the furniture or begged for food, she gave in. We made it work. For 3 months, that cat was my anchor. When I failed a midterm, she slept on my chest like a paperweight on my anxiety. When I didn't get the internship I wanted, she blinked slowly at me, like she already knew something better would come. When my mom called crying about something I didn't understand, Clementine sat beside me, her fur like a promise I didn't have to keep alone. And then, spring came. The snow melted. Exams ended. My lease was up. My roommate moved back to Kingston. And I didn't know what came next. The new place I found didn't allow pets. I tried to argue. I begged the landlord. Even offered extra money I didn't have. But it was no. No pets. No exceptions. I told myself it was temporary. Just for a few months. Just until I found something better. Just for now. But Clementine didn't understand just for now. She only knew that the place where she had curled up every night, where she had waited for me by the door, where she had been chosen and had chosen back was no longer hers. I spent 2 weeks trying to find someone to take her. Not a shelter. I couldn't bear the thought. I wanted a home. A person. A promise. And then I met someone, a grad student named Erin, who lived 2 blocks away and had just lost her own cat a few months prior. She seemed kind, gentle. She had a window with sunlight and a warm laugh. It felt right. Or close enough to right. I told myself this wasn't abandonment. It was delegation. It was love. Redistributed. The day I brought Clementine over, I packed all her things carefully, her blanket, her toys, the food she liked, a letter. Yes, I wrote a letter. For a cat. It said things like, she likes to nap around 4 p.m. She gets scared of loud birds, but not of thunder. She will come when you hum softly. And at the very end, I wrote, please let her know she didn't do anything wrong. Erin held Clementine gently. She smiled. Clementine purred. And I walked home empty-handed. That night, I placed her blanket on my bed and cried into it. It didn't smell like her anymore. It smelled like absence. And that's when I realized something. You can do the responsible thing. You can make the right choice. You can hand them off to someone kind. Someone safe. Someone better suited. But your heart doesn't care about logistics. It only knows what it gave and what it lost. And somewhere inside mine, something small curled up and went quiet. Tier 2. Things only she noticed. You never really realize what a presence means until it's gone. People think it's the big things that hurt the most, like the empty spot on the couch, or the silence when you come home. But for me, it was smaller, quieter, like the creak in the floorboard near the fridge, the one that used to make her tail flick in her sleep. Or the way I'd leave a glass of water on the nightstand, and she'd nudge it gently, like reminding me it was time to go to bed. Those things, the things only she noticed, they were everywhere. And suddenly, they meant nothing without her. There was a coffee mug I always used in the mornings. White, chipped on the rim. I never thought much of it. But Clementine used to curl up beside it when I left it on the desk. I don't know why. Maybe the warmth. Maybe the scent. After she left, I still used the mug, but I stopped leaving it on the desk because no one curled up beside it anymore. There was also a song I used to hum not consciously, just under my breath, when I was cooking or reading or thinking. A soft little rhythm. She'd come find me when I hummed it, like it was her version of a doorbell. After she left, I caught myself humming once. I froze. And when no soft paws came padding into the room, I just stopped. And I haven't hummed that song since. Some mornings, I'd still wake up early instinctively thinking I'd hear the scratch of her claws on the hardwood, or the quiet sound of her nose nudging the bedroom door. But it was always just the wind. I tried to distract myself. Long walks, extra classes, new friends. But none of them looked at me the way she did, like they saw something worth waiting beside. There was something about the way she watched me, with patience. It wasn't need. It wasn't dependency. It was understanding. The kind that doesn't interrupt you, doesn't demand anything, just stays. And after she was gone, I realized how little of that there was in the rest of my life. Everyone wanted something. A reply. An assignment. A version of me that performed. But Clementine, she was the only one who noticed when I was quiet for too long. The only one who blinked at me when I stared at the wall for minutes, lost in thought. The only one who knew when I cried, even when I did it silently. She never flinched. She never left the room. She just curled closer. And when I wiped my face, she'd tilt her head like she already forgave me for whatever I hadn't said out loud. I didn't expect the loneliness to settle in waves. It wasn't immediate. It came slowly. Through details. The kind you'd never mention in a conversation. The kind that don't make it into a therapist's notes. Like how I stopped leaving the window open on mild spring nights. Because no one was there to sit on the sill and watch the world with me. Or how I stopped eating tuna from a can. Because the sound of the metal lid used to bring her running, and now it just echoed. Once, about 3 weeks after I let her go, I dropped a pen under the couch. I reached down to get it and found a single strand of orange fur, stuck to the corner, curled like a question mark. I stared at it for too long, and then I cried. Right there on the floor, over one strand of fur. Not because of what it was, but because of what it meant that she had been real. That she had been mine. And that now, she wasn't. I wrote Erin once, just to ask how Clementine was doing. She replied kindly, said she was wonderful, playful, healthy, that she liked to nap on the windowsill at 2 p.m. Same as always. That made me smile and hurt. Because it confirmed something I already knew Clementine had adapted. She was okay. But me, I was the one who hadn't adjusted. Because even though she wasn't mine anymore, I still belonged to her in some way. And I wasn't sure how to let that go. I wish I could tell you that I moved on, that I got another cat, that I healed, but I didn't. I couldn't. Because no matter how warm the room was, there was always this little echo of soft pause that never came. Tier 3, the excuses. I still whisper. I didn't have a choice. That's the one I said most often. I said it out loud to friends who asked why I didn't bring Clementine with me. I said it in my head when I walked past pet stores or shelters. I said it in the quiet moments before sleep, when the blanket felt too big, and the room felt too still. I didn't have a choice. But the truth is, I did. Not a good one. Not an easy one. But a choice. And I made it. And sometimes, that hurts more than the pain itself, knowing that no one forced your hand. No one took her from you. You gave her away. Even if it felt like the only way forward. There were other excuses too. She's better off now. She has a bigger space. She's with someone who can afford to care for her properly. She'll forget me. And maybe some of that was true. Maybe she is better off. Maybe Erin is the kind of person who remembers to buy the fancy treats and schedule regular vet visits. Maybe her windows are wider, her sun patch is warmer. But none of that changes what I lost. Because I wasn't looking for the best home for Clementine. I was looking for a way to not feel guilty. And no matter how gently you phrase it, that kind of trade always leaves you aching. I used to tell myself it was temporary. That I'd come back for her. That once I had a stable job, a new apartment, a routine, I'd knock on Erin's door with an awkward smile and a blanket that still smelled like the past. But time moved in ways I didn't expect. Semesters passed. Jobs changed. Cities shifted. And I never knocked on that door. I never even walked down that street again. Not because I forgot, but because I remembered too much. Because every part of me knew. Even if Clementine remembered me, her life had moved on. And mine was still holding the empty leash. Sometimes I wonder what she'd do if she saw me now. Would she blink slowly in recognition? Would she curl up beside me again without hesitation? Would she walk past, content with where she is? No longer needing what we had. I tell myself she wouldn't remember. That cats don't carry things like that. But then I remember the way she looked at me that last day when I handed her to Erin and whispered, "You're gonna be okay." She looked up at me. Not scared. Not sad. Just steady. Like she was the one forgiving me. And maybe that's the hardest part of all. Knowing that the one you walked away from still believed in you. Still trusted you. Still let you go without scratching or running or hiding. Because she thought it meant something good was waiting on the other side. I used to repeat another line, too. She was just a cat. People said it to me. Friends. Family. Even myself. In the mirror sometimes. She was just a cat. But anyone who's loved a pet knows that just is a lie. She was more than a cat. She was my witness. To long nights and quiet tears. To small victories and burnt dinners. To the version of me that wasn't quite formed yet and didn't need to be judged. She was a constant. And when you lose a constant, the world doesn't tilt, you do. And the worst part, you keep walking like it didn't happen. Like gravity still holds. Like things still make sense. But the tilt stays. It lingers in your posture, in your hesitations, in the way you talk about certain years, and leave some parts out. Some nights, I still whisper those same excuses. Not to anyone else. Just into the dark. Like maybe, if I say them softly enough, they'll become true. But they never do. They just drift. Like snow that never touches the ground. Like a name you don't speak anymore, but still feel in your chest. Tier 4. The home that stayed empty. I've moved 5 times since 2009. New apartments. New roommates. New cities. Even. Each place had its own layout, its own light, its own echo. But none of them ever truly felt like mine. They were shelter. They were functional. But they weren't. Home. And I don't think I ever realized why not fully until a few months ago, when I stood in the center of my latest apartment, boxes still sealed, and thought, there's nothing here waiting for me. I had a couch, a bookshelf, a rug I liked. I had framed photos and warm lighting and tea in the cupboard, but I didn't have her. I didn't have the soft shuffle of paws crossing the hallway. I didn't have the sound of her tiny yawn before sunrise. I didn't have the knowing that someone, even someone wordless, knew I was alive and liked that I was. And without that, every apartment felt like a pause, like a hallway between something that used to matter and something that never quite did. I dated, laughed, hosted dinners, tried to make things feel full. But the strangest part is this. I never brought home another animal. Not once. Not a kitten. Not even a goldfish. People would ask, why not get another cat? Why not adopt again? Don't you miss it? And I'd nod, smile, shrug, say something like, oh, maybe when life slows down, or I travel too much. But inside, I knew the real answer. My home wasn't ready, because a part of it was still holding space for Clementine. And maybe, deep down, I was afraid that letting another pet in would mean I'd finally let her go. I kept her food bowl. That's the truth I haven't told anyone until now. It's in a shoebox, tucked in the back of a closet I barely open. It's small, white, a little cracked on the bottom. Sometimes, when I clean out old things, I find myself holding it again, running my thumb along the edge, as if it still remembers the sound of her eating. It's ridiculous. I know. It's just a bowl. But to me, it's a doorway. A small, silent portal to a version of myself that once felt trusted, needed, chosen. And every time I hold it, I'm reminded that there was once a place, a tiny basement apartment in Toronto that felt more like home than anywhere since. Not because of the layout, not because of the furniture, but because Clementine was there. And when someone loves you that quietly, that gently, that completely, it stays, even when they don't. Sometimes, on cold nights, I imagine what it would be like if I had brought her with me. If I had broken the rules, risked the lease, chosen her over convenience. Would my life have unraveled, or would it have deepened? Would I have failed classes, or would I have studied harder because I had someone waiting for me? Would I have felt trapped, or would I have finally learned what real commitment means? I'll never know. And maybe that's what hurts the most. Not what happened, but what never did. The parallel version of my life, where Clementine grew older beside me, where I had someone to talk to when the world got too loud, where I never had to say goodbye. I sometimes wonder where she is now, if she's still alive, if she still curls up in sunbeams, if she still blinks slowly at people she trusts, if she remembers me. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe her memories are folded gently into other seasons, other laps, other names, and that's okay. Because she gave me something I didn't understand back then, something I only recognize now. She made a home out of a place by making it impossible to forget. Tier 5. What I would say to her now. If I could speak to her now, just once more, this is what I'd say. Hi, Clem. I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're still watching birds from a windowsill, or if you've become part of the sunlight that once warmed your fur. I don't know if you remember me, the basement apartment, the chipped mug, the sound of my pencil tapping during midnight essays. But I remember you. Every detail. The way your tail curled like a question mark when you were curious. The way you tucked your nose under your paw when you slept. The way you blinked at me when the world felt too loud. You didn't need words. You were the words, the ones I didn't know how to say back then. And now, I think I finally know what I would have said. I'm sorry. Not for letting you go, because maybe that really was the best thing for you. Maybe you needed more than I could give. But I'm sorry for not understanding what you meant to me until after you were gone. I'm sorry for the way I convinced myself it didn't matter. For the excuses I whispered to my own reflection. For the blank spaces I tried to fill with noise when all I needed was your silence. I'm sorry that I didn't fight harder. That I let life become louder than love. That I called it responsibility when maybe it was just fear. But more than anything, I want to thank you for choosing me, for trusting me, for curling beside my chaos like it was your favorite place in the world. You didn't just make me feel seen. You made me feel steady, like I could hold something gentle and not break it. That was a gift. One I still carry, even now. When I reach for the light in a dark room, some part of me still expects to see you there, blinking slowly. And in that second before the room reminds me of its emptiness, I smile. Because you taught me something that never left. That home isn't a place. It's a presence. A heartbeat near yours. A quiet weight at the foot of the bed. A gaze that says, I see you even when you don't. I wish I could hold you again. I wish I could tell you that I never stopped thinking about you. That I kept your bowl. That I still fold the corner of my blanket the way you liked. That sometimes, when I wake in the middle of the night, I swear I hear the faintest sound of claws on hardwood. But maybe you already know. Maybe somewhere in the soft blueprint of memory that animals carry, you still remember the warmth of my lap, the smell of my tea, the sound of my humming. And if that's true, if even a thread of that still lives in you, wherever you are, then maybe I'm not too late. Maybe love whispered still reaches where love once lived. So, this is me, whispering, into the quiet, into the memory, into the space between us. Not to erase the past, not to undo the leaving, but to leave this instead. A thank you, a sorry, and a promise that next time, if life ever gives me another heartbeat like yours, I won't let fear dress up as logic. I won't call love a burden. I won't walk away. I'll stay. And this time, we'll grow old together. Sleep well, Clem. Wherever you are, you were never just a cat. You were the softest part of me, and still are. Thank you for listening to the part of me that still remembers her. This was Gentle Confessions. Sleep well, wherever your heart has wandered.